All right, so basically my goal for today is to get this guy rigged up, both his kind of fully armored version and the naked version. If I have some time later, rigging doesn't usually take too long, especially on characters like this, so hopefully it'll be maybe an hour or two, and then maybe I can do some animation as well. We'll see how I feel when this is done. Nice. Let's get started. Hey, Legacy, how's it going? Well, right now we're thinking of making a kind of like an open world survival craft style game. Um, but we're not 100% sure yet. No, we're working on just the combat system. It's going well. It's going well. Yeah, we're just working on a combat system for this for something right now, and then we're kind of try to build the game around that, I guess. Okay, because that's the one thing we know for sure is going to be in the game is combat. So, but we're thinking survival, kind of survival craft. But you know, we've also played with the ideas of like a so it's like a roguelike kind of a little dungeon run kind of loop. We're still playing with some ideas, but we know the kind of settings and things that we want to work with. So right now, me and my brother are working on the project. So I'm working mostly on art, and he's taking care of the programming. We're both going to be doing some programming, but we're working Unreal. So the program's a little bit more approachable with blueprints. I have a little bit of experience now. We've been kind of playing with Unreal for the last, I'd say, 5 months, 6 months. Actually, we probably started in December. But you know, he has a background in programming, so it makes sense for him to kind of spearhead that effort while I take care of the art because my background, my professional background, is in animation. No, I didn't do any coding classes. I mean, I have a little bit of experience back, I mean, a long time ago in high school and stuff like that. Just I took some basic programming there. So I know some basic programming structure, and I know I know kind of like the form of programming, but no, I didn't take any classes. I've been just going through YouTube. I did sign up for Udemy. So there's a bunch of courses through. Well, I guess they're not really courses. They're just like really well designed tutorials in Udemy. Yeah, and I just learned just by checking out the videos off of Udemy and a lot of stuff on YouTube as well. But the Blender is it. I had professionally not used Blender. So Blender is a pure hobby tool for me. But I have been taking on more and more Blender lately. So I was coming from Maya. And that made it a little bit more difficult for me to learn Blender simply because just muscle memory gets in the way of trying to learn how to do the same thing with a different set of tools, basically. So where my frustration was like, oh, how do I do this thing that I did in Maya, but I want to do it in Blender? And that became really, really frustrating when it didn't do it exactly the way Maya does it, right? So once my brain kind of got out of that thinking, that loop of thinking, the frustration of, oh, it doesn't work like Maya, then it became a lot easier to learn Blender. But I think if you're new to 3D, learning Blender, I don't think it's any more difficult or any easier than learning any other 3D software. Um, yeah, I've heard of SketchUp. I've heard it's a pretty. I haven't used it myself, but I've heard it's pretty cool. It's really more artist friendly because it thinks it lets you be a little bit more freeform like an artist. I think there is a little bit of a technical hurdle coming from are working in Blender, just because of all the little modifiers and stuff like that that are associated with um, all the little settings and stuff. So, oh yeah, I've yeah. Again, I haven't really used SketchUp. I know I know it's supposed to be the way it's sold or the way it's kind of approached is more artist friendly. So it could be. I mean, again, really, because I've been using art software for a long time now, or at least software, 3D software for almost 20 years now. Um, it it just feels kind of software to me. So I'm always kind of having to learn this different software thing. So it's I don't know. It all feels kind of same to me these days. Everything does it the same way, just they have slightly different language for it or a slightly different approach. Yeah, yeah, that's always the one of the barriers. I mean, that's partly the reason I'm using Blender is because um it's free. Maya would have cost me, I think, Canadian dollars would have cost me, I want to say about $200 a year or $200 a month. And that's a bit cost prohibitive for me. Is the web version free? If the web version is free, I'd probably wouldn't mind giving it a shot. How long do I think it will take? Getting a job in Canada. Look, if you're gonna work in 3D right now, it's not the best time. Because I worked in film and television, and it's not good times right now for the animation industry. Because the way Canada is structured is because we do a lot of service work here. Um, um, yeah, well, there's something similar happening, I guess. I'm not 100% what the delay is on your side, but the delay is because for basically what happened in the last 5 years is because the pandemic, they ramped up a lot of productions, and they started hiring a lot of people, and they didn't consider, um, what would happen when the world kind of went back to normal. So when the world did go back to normal, they found they had all these bloated productions. All these studios had overhired. So now they were going to be end up operating at a loss because during the pandemic, a lot of people were going to consume a lot of content on Netflix, on Amazon. All those services had a huge spike. So a lot of VFX jobs, a lot of animation jobs, just they came pouring in. I was actually working two jobs at the time. Um, and what it up everything was all bloated afterwards, right? So they couldn't sustain it, so they ended up doing massive layoffs across the entire industry. And then of course, they started shutting down productions and putting productions in hiatus, which meant laying off the VFX workers. And there's a whole cascade of things that happened. On top of that, there was another a couple of years ago, there was a strike. The I think it was ACTRA and SAG, and then the IATSE went on, or it was IATSE was threatening to strike, but SAG certainly went on strike. And then prior to that, we had the writer's strike, which ended up kind of slowing down things again. So it hasn't been great. It hasn't been terrible, but the job market in Canada for VFX, because we're beholden to Hollywood, has not been fantastic. But as far as games were concerned, I think games have been doing all right. Games have been, uh, I think there's been steady growth, and certainly I think the indie market has shifted, especially because the AAA market is, I think, s- oh, is it falling? What's the appropriate terminology? I don't know. Yeah, I've heard some murmurs about the Hanta virus going around or something like that, but you know, um, uh, I know we've had I think there's one isolation case in Canada so far, so let's just hope they learned something. Our governments have learned something from the pandemic and are able to take appropriate steps this time instead of, you know, knee-jerk reactions. And what do I know? The fact that as a civilian, I'm only privy to 1% of the information the government has access to, so we're kind of at their mercy when it comes to this shit. Yeah, right. Season two. I think a lot of it is just taking things in stride these days, just to be careful not to overreact to things now. It's with the internet and the ability for information to spread so quickly, maybe knee-jerk reactions aren't the best way to approach solving big problems anymore. Okay, so we have an issue. Yeah, for Blender, that's one thing they love to kind of teach is the shortcut buttons. And so that's was another kind of little sticky point for me as well. Um, because the way I have set Maya up after, because I've been using Maya for like 20 years, so my muscle memory was built for Maya, but I also had customized keys, hotkeys for Maya. But yeah, learning hotkeys is a bit of a pain in the butt, but the benefit is that once you do learn them, it does make navigating the software significantly easier. I mean, significant, like your workflow. If you know once you get the hotkeys kind of flowing, it speeds up your workflow 10, 15 fold, right? So it's worth um, the couple of months of frustration of learning your how to get your fingers set. What I like to do is because I play a lot of video games, I try to set up all my hotkeys with my WASD kind of form. So even in Blender now, I'm starting to slowly migrate all of my hotkeys over to kind of like something that mimics video games, the way I play video games. This way, muscle memory is in constant kind of working. Even when I'm playing video games, this is the buttons that I like to reach for when I'm doing this. And it's actually kind of cool because in Unreal, that's partly how you navigate the environment in Unreal too. So it's I think Blender has been certainly really popular amongst hobbyists. Professionally, because the only reason I think Blender, part of the reason Blender has had difficulty being adopted into professional pipelines is because there's a legacy of data already built for Maya, right? Because I have worked in film and visual effects and stuff for 20 years, and I've never worked on any other package except Maya. I think I've used Houdini once, and I used 3ds Max once. Well, I use 3ds Max. I have a client that I freelance with every now and then that occasionally likes to use 3ds Max, so I have to use 3ds Max when I work with them. But 90% of my work is done in Maya only because they're kind of stuck, right? Because Autodesk basically owns everything now, right? They've been slowly buying up all of the packages and all of the different 3D tools and software pack. They're not as dominant as they once were because like ZBrush is out there. We have Nuke, which is compositing software. I don't think Autodesk owns that yet. But yeah, that's Maya is the kind of leading professional package, but Blender is every bit as powerful. If you're willing to spend some time and if there's any engineers that kind of get a hold of the package, it is every bit as powerful as Maya can be. Especially for what I'm trying to do. Like low poly characters for a video game. There's pretty much no 3D software package that won't be able to handle low poly. But I'm also working on short films and stuff like that. So I do want high fidelity, kind of sculpted textures and sculpted models and stuff. So Blender is a bit of a catch-all package, which is really nice. I like having to stay primarily in Blender in order to do all of the work I'm doing, basically, right? So, um, with the exception of texturing, is the only time I go into Substance Painter. But beyond that, you know, yeah, Blender is my tool. Hmm. Seem to be having issues aligning these bones up here. Maybe it's because the bones. Well, I am getting. Um, I'm not too sure what it's going to be difficult. The map will be certainly, I think each component has its challenges. Because I'm going to be coding a lot of the player character, the player controller, because uh, I'm an animator, so I want the animations to look really, really nice. So I want the animations of the player controller to feel. I want to drive a lot of the player movement is going to be is sort of the is I'm using what I guess in game design is called root motion. Um, which allows the feet to kind of stay planted, but I have to design basically in 3D all of the movement in order to do all that stuff. So I think personally, from my perspective, the challenge is going to come in the coding from my perspective, only because, again, this is, I do 3D for a living. So this stuff, there's a few technical hurdles in terms of getting Blender to talk to Unreal and the rigs to work with Unreal. But I've solved most of that already. So really, when I'm still working in Blender, I'm still trying to be as creative as possible. But the player controller, I think, for me, will be the challenge. I'm trying to be live as much as possible. Which last week I was every day. I mean, I just started streaming last week. But the goal is to kind of treat this almost like a job now. Because like I was explaining earlier, that I'm actually temporarily laid off until um um July. So I have basically a month and a half off of work to work on this thing. So I'm, instead of just chilling out and doing nothing, I'm gonna try to work on this game for as much as I can, because time is in short supply once work starts again. So I'm told that once production kicks in again, we're gonna have about a good solid 18 months worth of work to ahead of us, which is great because it means I have a job and I have work and income coming in. But it kind of sucks because I can't work on the game. How do I save? How do you do data save? Uh, the data save is basically, I think there's like a game state or game instances that we basically write files to. So, and then any bit of data inside your game that needs to be saved, you have to basically tag it and be able to save it out to that file, so that you can create an entire state of all of the items. Everything that you want to be saved needs some sort of save state. So, like for example, um, you go into a dungeon and you open a chest. Well, that chest now people need to now recognize that chest has been opened, or the game needs to know that chest has been opened and can't be opened again, unless by design you want the player to be able to open that again. But in an RPG or the game that we're thinking of designing, we want the chest to be opened once, and then that's it. It can't be opened again. It remains open or it disappears. But that data needs to then be written to the game instance, or the save game instance. Not 100% sure. Again, the structure of the game, really, my brother is doing that, so I don't want to step on his toes and start talking about things that are out of my expertise. But that is the basic rough outline of how a game's save state is kind of made in a game. Is that everything essentially needs to be tagged and recorded, so that way we can access that file and load the game in the state that the player had left off. And you'll buy it when it releases. Well, thank you very much. We're very far off from any sort of release right now, but hopefully, I'm trying to showcase a little bit of the art of the game. Which I should also mention that this is a modified version of the Cinti assets. So some of it is completely custom, some of it is a little bit borrowed, but it's basically a hodgepodge of that stuff. So this is not completely original work that's going to make it to the game, just because art assets take just like, we started making a game back in January, and this was a game that it was an old Nintendo game that we wanted to remake, and we were just going to launch it onto itch.io for free. And but just the volume of assets you have to create, it's just it's insane. It is it is I don't I can't even muster the words for the sheer volume of assets that are required to make video games work. So we kind of bit the bullet and said, okay, well, let's just buy some assets for the time being, because I think it's more important to kind of design the game, and then if we have a working foundation, we can always replace art assets afterwards. The core of the game is that, the gameplay needs to be fun, and the art assets kind of like, well, as long as they function for the time being, let's just go with that. If we want to pretty them up later, that's something we can definitely invest time into. But yeah, even still, when you're using pre-made assets, we the functionality of them is dependent on all the stuff I'm doing right now, like rigging and whatnot. So this is one of those things where um no matter what route you take, there's going to be a significant time investment into getting everything working the way you want it to work for your game. I seem to be having issues aligning these. When do I think it will release? Wow. Not for quite a while, because we're still designing the combat system. Our goal is to have a working prototype probably closer to the end of the year. And we want to do some early access stuff probably early next year. That's our goal. Only because we're new developers, and we're sort of hoping that early access will give us the feedback necessary to make the game good. Right? Or make the game, at least give us the feedback and let us know, hey, is this game fun? Is there something like, what are the things that we just need community feedback, right? So the whole point of doing YouTube and Twitch right now is to start building somebody that comes by and pops by like you, where they're wondering about, they have some curiosity about the development process, but can also we want to build a community of people to start playtesting as well too, right? So that's part of what we're doing, and that's our goal is to start looking around January is probably when we want to start putting it into people's hands, just to see even if the game is engaging enough um to to push further, right? I hope it'll be fun. The one thing, I have worked in films and television for a long time, and I got to be honest with you, sometimes I get tired of film and television. Like I haven't really watched a whole lot of movies, at least new movies. I'll watch movies that I've already watched. I don't know why. I guess there's a comfort in knowing that it's going to be a good movie, instead of rolling the dice. But the one thing that has always been a constant in my life has always been video games. That's sort of, they've always been there, right? And I kind of actually, even my career is sort of built on the fact that I got excited about animation because of video games. The original Final Fantasy VII. Hi, Shafi. Yeah. So the original Final Fantasy VII was kind of the reason I started kind of really getting into animation. Oh, that's why it's doing it. Yeah, so video games have always just been a part of my life, and I think I think it was a missed opportunity when I learned how to animate and make art, to not explore the dimension of working in video games a little bit more, because I think there's always been a romanticized image of working in film, and certainly I bought into that, and I pursued working in film, and have had success. I'm happy with the career I had in film. But with the markets the way they are right now in this country, I would be remiss in my duties as a person participating in the economy to not start looking into other avenues of making money now, just because the film industry is not what it used to be in Canada. We just can't provide the service work that we once did, just because there's they're just doing great films everywhere now. Hollywood is not no longer the place that that the best films are making. Like there's so many great films coming out of Japan and Korea, and even India now, that believe it or not, Hollywood is, I think, only the third or fourth largest movie market on the planet. The number one is Bollywood, number two is Hong Kong, number three is Nigeria, and then number four is Hollywood. Right? So it's film business is not what it used to be. It's now spread across the globe, and lots of people are good at it now. Lots of people are doing it. And I think the way to sustain in this business now is to start trying to make your own thing, trying to do your own things now. So even on the weekends, I'm making my own short films and working on my own stuff. So I think got to try to adapt, right? The world's changing. No, it's too high. Oh, wait, I know why. There. Fix that problem. I have not played Roblox myself. My niece and my nephew are really into Roblox, and from what I hear, it is sort of like a little mini game maker, and that is an awesome way to kind of get experience making games if you're, if you play Roblox too, because it can turn it into a bit of a fun thing. Um, Yeah, I mean, this is definitely the best way to kind of approach it if that's the way you want to go, is to gain some experience. I think a lot of the time making video games is sold as this kind of torturous thing, um, and I don't think it has to be. You know, I get why it is sold that way sometimes, because there's an art there's an art to all of this, but I don't think you have to suffer for it. I don't think you have to make your life miserable to make good art and to make good video games. I think you just have to pace yourself, understand that sometimes you have to start again. Sometimes you gotta, work ideas, and you're not always gonna hit the bullseye right out of the gate. And being open to trying again and trying new things, and trying new ideas, I think will get you to the end goal a lot faster than trying to muscle your way through it, working 16, 18 hours every single day. Yeah, I mean, that's what it is, right? That's what video games is. It's meant to be fun. I mean, it's just crazy these days that people make a living off of playing video games, but I think the core of video games, the way I play video games, I mean, I intend for them to be fun, and I want people to play them. I don't want, like, this the way we're designing our game is there's an end to the game, right? You can finish the game, right? And I think a lot of design mentality goes to, how do I get a player to play this game forever? And I think definitely that came out of the AAA space. And I think sometimes a game that can be finished is more memorable than a game that never ends, right? Like, the fact that World of Warcraft is still going. I played MMOs back in the day. My first massive multiplayer game was Ultima Online, and then I played EverQuest, and then I played uh, World of Warcraft. And I know Ultima Online is still going. There's probably private servers for EverQuest available out there, some from some hacked versions of it or something. I don't know. I have not looked into EverQuest in the line, but I know Ultima Online. There's definitely custom servers out there now that have reimagined this entire game now. So I just, I think that's cool when the community takes it and breathes new life in it. But for a developer to develop with the idea that we want to perpetuate this game forever, I think that might be going into bad design philosophy because it's tough to make memories when something is meant to be forever, right? So, and I think for me, being a sort of a nostalgic gamer, making a memory out of a video game is something that's really important. Especially, I think, if when kids pick up or the younger generation picks up, because when art gets to young people, it has a stronger impact. It imprints on them. Just like my want to make playing Final Fantasy VII inspired an entire career of animation for me. Um, it might do something similar to somebody else, right? And I don't think I'm a one-off. I think it's pretty common for something like that to happen. Yeah, it's just fun. It's a really nice thing to just do something for fun. Because I think when you do something professionally, you release something, you can't just be like, you know what, I'm done with that. Right? There's a professional expectation. There's now an audience, and people expect you to not be done with this thing. So, um, it's uh, it's rough when you try to elevate something now to a professional expectation. So, enjoy it. If you're just screwing around with Roblox and just playing for fun, that's what video games are meant to do. That's what I think what you're supposed to be doing with video games. Hmm. Still getting this awkward alignment with the feet, this knee here. Brain rots. What's that? Is that like a game in Roblox, or are you mentioning, or are you referring to like working for so many hours that your brain starts to rot? You will see. All right, well, keep me posted because now you got me intrigued. Because brain rot, yeah, it's a pretty clever name for a video game. Work. Yes. Yeah. So what I was trying to do there was get these little balls here lined up with the knees properly, and usually that's a problem with the chain in the legs, but it's working now. So seems to be a little bit broken on the arm still. That should fix it. Hooray. New generation is brain rotted. How so? Well, I'm glad you're picking up a few tips. That's part of the hope too. I've never. I don't want to call myself a blender guru. Uh, there's some great blender gurus out there, but definitely if you're picking up some stuff, all the power to you. That's part of what I'm hoping will happen is to spread the knowledge a little bit, spread the word of Blender, spread the gospel of Blender because I've absolutely fallen in love with this software. I think it is the fact that they give this thing away for free, like it is free. It is just it just blows my mind. And I know Blender's been around for a long time since I think since the '90s, and the fact that I really only kind of started learning about it, I think it was a 2.7. It's basically when they implemented this kind of new interface, and it didn't look so old school. I started, I think it was 2.78. But yeah, it's been fantastic. It's been a fantastic tool. I've been using it since I think 2017 or 2018 now, and I've all but abandoned Maya in my own personal work just because again it's free. I still have to use Maya in professionally, but I don't touch Maya outside of work anymore. Well, I marry with Blender. I don't know. It's a large step. It's a big commitment, but I think it's pretty close to a match made in heaven as you're gonna get because I use Blender pretty much every day now. So it's for me it's really exciting software. So I may be willing to make the commitment. The UI is hard. Yeah, it's it takes a second to understand it, but it actually makes sense once you kind of understand where all the tools are kind of located. If you're for any professionals that are going to tune into the video later, it's it's like 3ds Max, but it's a little bit more intuitive. It's a nice little halfway point between 3ds Max and Maya. Um, but yeah, I get why looking at it when you first kind of see it, it's just like, oh my goodness, there's so much here. There's so much. They throw all the interface throws a lot at you right away, and it can be really daunting. But the nice thing is the Blender has a great learning. The I guess their website has a bunch of tutorials for starters. On plus of which there's like Blender is one of the most covered 3D tools on YouTube. I think it might just because of the cost prohibitive, because Maya is cost prohibitive. I think there is more community support for Blender. Cool. I think I might be able to find this now. I'll just do the fingers. Start menu, health UI. What's that? What's this? Oh, I see. Okay, I think you're talking about Roblox game. Yeah, I was when I was younger, I was always into designing the systems like visually. But I was never particularly good at actually implementing those designs. So I had a pretty wild imagination in terms of designing things. But you know, it's again, it's just a matter of kind of taking the time and going out and finding the tutorials to learn. It's frustrating at first. It's always frustrating at first. I get that, but if you stick with it, you'll find it's never as hard as you initially thought. Nice, dude. Yeah, we're technically on holiday here too. We're it's Victoria Day in Canada. So technically nobody is working today. There's no school either. Um, Figure today's a good day to do some streaming since there's no work to do. I am not going to have any success trying to pronounce that. Where are you from? Turkey. Nice. I don't know much about Turkey, unfortunately. Oh, nice, man. Like everybody goes on holiday next week, or is it like just it's a vacation week, no work, no school, nothing? So what are you gonna do next week then, man? That's a whole week. It's not quite as easy as just adding bones. You can. That's one way, just to quickly kind of do something. It all depends on what you're trying to do with it. So because I'm trying to do animation with this thing, and I'm working as in a way that's as non-destructive as possible. I want to make sure that I build a rig that can be reused over and over and over again. So that's basically what I'm doing right now. Homework. Well, hopefully it's not too much homework. I mean, it's homework, so I mean, it's not what. How much homework do you guys get? Like maybe a couple hours every night? Remember when I was in high school, like grade school, high school. Grade school, I didn't get too much homework. High school, I think I'd say I would get about 2 to 3 hours of homework every night in high school. Yeah, that's not so bad. If you kind of buckle down, I bet you can probably knock it out even faster. Well, that would be brilliant. If the teacher kind of let you guys have a week off, I think that would be awesome. I think that's sometimes necessary. You know, can't always be working. We want to be prepared, but there is something as there's such a thing as being over prepared, right? So, I see a religious holiday. Well, I guess perfect. It worked. Well, holiday is holiday still, you religious or not. It's a day off for whether you're going to celebrate the religious holiday specifically or just a day to relax. I think it's good that at least they're going to give it to you guys off because, you know, for us at least, the weather's starting to get really nice. So, we get a few more days off as the weather starts to get nice in Canada. We just recently had in February we have a family day. In April we have like Easter, and then May we have Victoria Day, which is today. Um, so we basically get a day off pretty much every month in Canada, up until December, in case we get about most places will give people you get about a week off. If you're in school, obviously you get summers off. So do you guys are you in high school right now? Am I a Christian? No. I'm not saying that to be funny or to laugh at it. It's just I'm not a Christian. In Canada, it's not as big of a thing here to subscribe to any sort of religion. Got no issues with any of the religions here. All the religions, we all seem to get along pretty well here. Um, but no, I think we kind of started out as Christians, but religion was not very, very important to my parents, so they didn't really push that for us. What they really wanted us to focus on was education. So we did our best in education. If it was especially when comes to this stuff, when it came time to go into college and learning about making art, I was a very, very good student. Let's see. Nice. There's another little awesome thing about Blender is that once it works really well right out of the box, right? Get the blend. I I weight it right to the rig, and then it's almost pretty close to working because it's a low poly character. I'm probably gonna have to do much more weight painting after this, which is amazing. Switch this to okay. Check out the arm movements. Hmm. Just some minor weight issues there. That's incredible. I'm pretty happy with most of this already. Check the hips. And the head. Oh, it's amazing. Looks like I just have to paint some weights on the arms. Freaking love Blender. Huh. I'm pretty sure mine is just as good as a job these days, but the fact, like, again, I can't believe this is free. Thanks, man. It was one thing we've been trying to do is we want to do it really modular, so we can in Unreal we can actually swap out all the pieces now, right? So the way I'm rigging it up is so we can take a look at like we can do pants, so we can rig out the pants, so it'll swap out the pants, so I can even animate it without the pants on, so it looks like it's just floating there. Or if you want to do custom hair like in a character a character customization, we can like swap hair now. I only have this one model, so you can only see that one, but yeah, I'm really happy with the way this is going so far. Again, even if it's just prototype, we can change the chest, and then we can do this is the chest and then we'll do gloves. Hands are always a bit of a pain in the butt. Let's see. This is all working nicely. Nice. Minor weight painting issues. Yeah, it looks like all my weight painting is going to be isolated to mostly the arms and hands now, which is great. Awesome. Oh, that's great. I think I tested out everything. Oh, let's just test out this one. Cool. Nice. And the foot roll. Yeah, it's not bad. Okay, I can tune that one up a little bit. This is locked. Oh, it's gonna be I'm going to take a short break. I'll be back in 5 minutes. Right, on to part two. Yeah, let's paint the white. Hey, Legacy, I'm back. Gonna paint some weights on the make sure all the connections and the deformations work nicely now. How many models will there be? Well, it's tough to say. Um, there's got the main character models. I would probably guesstimate if you're talking about trees and plants and grass and all that stuff. We're talking about probably all in all about 1,000, probably 1,000-ish. Ones that I will actually have to do, we're probably looking at about ones that I'll actually have to work like this. Probably about 20-ish. 20. There's gonna be some big monsters in the game and stuff like that, so I'll have to do some custom rigs for those monsters and stuff. But there's gonna be a lot. There's because everything needs to be modeled. Everything needs to be like I said, that we bought an asset pack, so some of this stuff will already exist. Um, just because like it's just so much work. So we're trying to minimize as much of that work as possible without compromising any artistic vision that I might have for the game. Um, I would say probably close to 1,000 all in all, but it's not like I have to do too much work with all of them. In terms of character models, so probably about I don't know, just off the top of my head, I'm guessing anywhere between 30 to 40 character models. Well, the nice thing about this model is I don't really have to do much painting. So I'll show you real quickly, actually. It's kind of a cool technique. So what we've done, or what the way the model comes from the Cinti package. Okay, so I'll show you, not this one. So let's say, so this is the armor that comes with one of the things. So actually, I'll show you the other one because this is the one I'll actually be working on. Strange. Anyways, so you can see here, basically what I've done is, or what's been done is they load what is called a texture atlas. Okay, so all of the colors that we have access to are right here. So what I'm effectively doing is assigning the polygons or the vertices to um, the color of the axis. So like, let's say I want to see the brown here. Let's say I want to change that color. I just have to access the colors that are on brown, and I can change anything that's brown on the object by selecting the UVs that have been compressed into that one thing, into this little color palette, or this swatch. And I can, let's say I want it to, if I want it to be turquoise, to switch it over to a turquoise color, right? And it changes that color to turquoise. Right? So I'm not really doing much quote unquote texture painting because it's a low poly technique. Paint to textures. Um, I'm not a huge fan of the way that paint to textures look on low polys. So it makes it a little bit easier to kind of takes out the painting aspect of making assets again, because making assets is it's going to take so long. We need to find ways to cut things out of the process to just to be faster about it. So yes. So anything that's going to have to move is going to have to be attached to the bones, the armor. All of this stuff has to be attached to bones in order for it to work in the game. There's a technique in Unreal basically where I can basically piece them all together and have the animation sync up on all of them so that when you swap out the armor sets, all of the animation continues to stay synced up inside Unreal. No, I'm having a question as to why this is all seems to be offset right now. Oh, right, because I've moved the rig. Yeah, the nice thing about when I actually do the armor, because you basically any piece of armor you have to do, you have to attach it to bones and weight them. The nice thing is once I have one kind of set, I can kind of copy those things. I can copy that data over to each piece of geometry, and have basically it work just like the naked thing, the naked body, or the this way you're not messing around with weight painting all the time. So you only effectively have to do it once. You will have to tweak, there's no way around getting around some of the work in this. You will have to tweak it, but at least you're not doing it all over and over and over and over and over again. Test out the fingers. Make sure they're not pulling that piece anymore. What's this? Dragon plate. Actually, do the armor on it now. I gotta clean this up though. So, what? Break moving. That's good. Oh. That's not. What was what? The human's leg. Oh, yeah. Sometimes if you push the the rig too far, it breaks. So you got to be careful, obviously, because obviously, like a human body, it can't do everything. Um, so I think what you're referring to, oops, yeah. So when it does that, it's because you push the rig in a way that the rig can't handle. See how, because everything's crushing your body can't do this. So basically the control rig underneath it doesn't know what to do when it hits a certain point. So it snaps this. So that's why I quickly kind of check the pole parenting, and I can fix that by moving the parent here and just switching that around. The other foot's doing it now too, but if I fix that, so I can fix it just by moving the pole parent so that it's not the these little balls aren't following the knees. Yeah, but so the whole point, the reason I'm checking everything is because this is what it's called an IK rig setup. So the legs and the arms are built on an IK rig. So basically I can control this independently, and it will evaluate and solve the leg bends just by controlling the foot, right? So I can even stretch it out too, like whoop, auto stretch. So I can stretch it and do whatever I want and do if I want to go really, really cartoony with it. Um, and also what's awesome about IK solving, this is old tech, but is I can grab the hip and I can push him down and it does it the other direction too. So it solves from the hip to the foot or the foot to the hip. So this way you're not constantly animating the leg back and back and forth. So if you don't have that, basically what you don't have that, you have to then counter that animation right back by rotating all these pieces, and that's a very very difficult way to animate legs, especially on things like walk cycles. I'm trying to probably get through the rigging today, and then I will probably be jumping mainly into the animation on my next live stream. I might be doing some posing and stuff like that today just to test out that all the reg deformations are working the way I want them to work. But I don't intend on doing a ton of animation today. If there is, it's going to be very, very minor. But animation takes a very long time, so chances are it's not just my next stream. It'll be the remainder of the week and probably then some. So I plan on kind of demoing the entire process of animating a character for Unreal, and for video games to the best of my knowledge, as part of kind of just the exploration of my stream, right? Because I think it's kind of cool to see somebody kind of going through the process of making a video game and doing all the animation and designing all the assets and doing all that stuff. Because I think there's some interest in that. So yes, next stream will be the next couple of streams, next few streams for probably the week and a half is going to be mostly animation. Once I'm done all that stuff, then it's probably be a few days of me implementing all the work I've done in Blender. I'll be trying to implement it into Unreal and building out the player controller. So for the next couple of weeks, I'm in Blender, and then I'll be jumping into Unreal to do the player controller. Yeah, just a lot of animations to get through, right? Because where our combat is going to be pretty involved. So we want to make sure that we cover most of what we want to try to do in most of the animations I'll be doing over the next couple of weeks, as far as fighting with a sword and a shield. So you can see the armor plated guy here. Once I have his backpack, his weapons, and all that stuff imported in. Oops. If I hide. Okay. Yeah. Well, thank you so much for joining me today, man. I really appreciate it. You're like the first person that's visited this week. Feel free to drop by anytime. I'm happy to chat with you, bud. And good luck with your Roblox stuff. If I don't see you again tomorrow, um, have a great night. Cheers, brother. Awesome, Legacy. I will definitely see you tomorrow then, because I will be trying to stream again tomorrow. We're pretty much around the same time. I'm going to start, I guess, I've been on for almost 2 hours now, so I'm pretty much going to be around at the same time if you want to pop by and say hi again. Thanks again for coming by, dude. Appreciate it. That's mm, Mm, yeah. So, I'll copy those values over. Okay. Mm. That's a good pain in the ass. Ah, it's gonna pain in the ass. Fine. What, can I do that? No. I don't know how to use this. Nope. Nope. Was the other way around? Nope. I don't know. Okay. Well, Why isn't this going? Hmm. I don't suspect I'll be doing too much animation on the eyes, but the brows, probably. Hmm. Do that. Get a break. Cool. What's going on? Hmm. A couple concerns. Ugh, 6 o'clock already. All right, everyone. I think I'm done for the day. Dog needs a walk. Productive day today. Got the rig all set up. Should be doing some animation tomorrow, so anybody's curious about the animation process, I'm probably gonna just probably do some minor weight painting, fix up some small things here and there. But tomorrow, I'm gonna start animating this guy. I think I gotta add some constraint bones for the sword and the shield when it's attached to his arms and hands, and then we'll get animating. Yeah, pretty happy with the results today. Anyways, guys, thanks for tuning in. I'll hopefully see some of you guys again tomorrow. Cheers.